share of intermodal transport has been growing substantially in the last couple of years and will keep growing in the next couple of years. Ermeva will follow and support that trend by investing in intermodal railcars and additional equipment for the industry. The future of rail freight is driven by digitization. It will bring more safety, more performance. Digitization will help us to improve transport visibility. It will enable us to improve the turnaround time, trigger condition-based maintenance and predictive maintenance. Considering the EU Green Deal targets, rail freight has a card to play and Ermeva will support our industry. With more than 3,000 intermodal railcars in our fleet, we will be well over 5,000 intermodal railcars in the next 3 years. And we'll keep investing into that segment in order to provide safer and more reliable supply chain for our customers.
Urban rail's power transportation and development of a city. Today, ICT is the driving force behind the growth of urban rail transit that offers safer mobility, more efficient operations, and improved services. Huawei is currently the only solution provider in the transportation industry that can both integrate new ICT such as cloud, AI, IoT, big data, ICP, video and GIS technologies, as well as streamlined clouds, pipes, and devices. Huawei is continuously promoting wider ICT application in the industry. Huawei's Urban Rail Cloud solution provides a platform to support metro services. It represents a solid foundation for our innovation while ensuring secure and efficient operations. Centralized management increases resource utilization by 40% and simplifies O&M. As such, we can invest more resources and energy into service innovation, allowing Ho-Hot Metro to achieve the best management quality. We are striving to build Ho-Hot Metro into a digital benchmark for the industry. The Urban Rail Cloud for Ho-Hot Metro supports production businesses, as well as internal and external services. Each service has specific requirements, for example, needing different levels of resource security. Therefore, implementation can be challenging. During project delivery processes, such as design, verification, and implementation, we held multiple on-site meetings for industry experts to discuss and refine the solutions. We also performed strict testing on a test platform established by Horinger, ensuring stable and compliant services on the cloud platform. The process showcased Huawei's leading technical capabilities in urban rail cloud delivery, positioning the project as a reference point for other such projects in the industry. In 2013, Zhengzhou Metro and Huawei started building the world's first LTE-based urban rail line. Since then, joint efforts in metro digitalization have been made by the two parties. On May 20th, 2019, Zhengzhou Metro opened Line 5 and simultaneously launched the AFC Network Control Center. Based on Huawei's Urban Rail Cloud, the ANCC works in sync with the Zhengzhou LV Chengtong bus cards and all-in-one cards issued by the Ministry of Transport. Passengers enjoy a convenient travel experience by scanning QR codes to enter and exit metro station. At the same time, Huawei's solution provides robust capacity for expansion and upgrade. In the future, Zhengzhou Metro plans on expanding to 21 metro lines with the capacity to serve 18 million passengers and 45 million transactions. Huawei's Urban Rail Cloud solution centrally manages computing, network storage, and security on the NOCC cloud platform, increasing resource utilization by 30%. The solution leverages virtualization technologies to merge multiple physical networks into one. It also reduces the number of devices and facilitates more efficient O&M. The NOCC cloud platform converges service data and provides platform support for smart metro service application. On May 20th, 2019, Shenzhen Metro and Huawei launched the world's first 5G fixed-point video backhaul project. Now, it takes only 150 seconds to download all the train data. Before, it would have taken at least 1 hour. Huawei's solution increases the data transmission rate from 4 megabits per second to 1.5 gigabits per second. The wireless train-to-ground data transfer relies only on resumable transfer and does not require manual intervention. This has expanded data analysis capability and offered infinite possibilities for image analysis. Huawei's Urban Rail Cloud solution integrates cloud, big data, video, 5G, and other ICT to build a secure, efficient, and innovative cloud platform on the multi-rail line network, facilitating the co-construction of smart urban rails. Huawei has carried out joint innovation with leading design institutes and integrators, and set up a digital urban rail ecosystem lab. To date, Huawei has done interconnection verification tests with over 40 integrators in the industry. Huawei has also participated in the formulation of urban rail informatization standards, led by CAMET, and led multiple teams in the standardization of urban rail clouds in China. In the future, Huawei will continue to enable smart urban rail and work with partners to accelerate its development. Smart urban rail, growing with the cloud.
Based in Brussels since 1992, UNIFE is the association representing the European rail supply industry. We effectively promote the interests of companies that design, manufacture, and maintain all aspects of rail transport systems. In industrial facilities across Europe, UNIFE members are involved in a diverse set of activities. From the development and production of trains, metros, trams, and locomotives, as well as components of rolling stock to rail signaling, energy, and infrastructure equipment. The European rail supply industry employs approximately 400,000 individuals across the EU. With absolute sales of €47 billion, we are the global leader for rail equipment. As an innovative industry, investing significantly in research and development and digitalization, and fully involved in the Shift to Rail joint undertaking, European rail suppliers have developed some of the most important innovations in the sector, including the European Rail Traffic Management System, driverless metro systems, and the modern very high-speed train. These innovations have reduced travel times and traffic congestion and boosted mobility all over the world in an environmentally friendly way. UNIFE is the platform for the industry and advocates for policies that will help grow rail transport and boost world competitiveness of the European rail supply industry. At an EU level, this means securing funds for rail projects, including research and development, and pushing for better access for European companies globally. Contributing to the effort to create a single European railway area, UNIFE provides its members with a direct channel to the EU Agency for Railways, as well as standardization organizations such as ISO and CEN-CENELEC, in order to simplify the rail system and promote European standards abroad. Furthermore, UNIFE plays an active role in collaborative European rail research, coordinating EU research projects for the development of the next-generation rail system. UNIFE's activities will continue to promote a political, regulatory, and financial framework that will benefit European rail suppliers, their customers, as well as freight forwarders and passengers.
每个城市都有自己的故事。लेकिन ये बस एक कहानी नहीं है। हर मोड़ और हर क्लिक के बाद नए दौर शुरू होंगे। मैं उसका हिस्सा बनना चाहता हूं।
Of opportunities where technology is increasing our ability to shape the future every day. And with a strong focus on sustainability, we want to lead the way in our industry by creating smart and sustainable urban environments. Our cities grow, infrastructure is transforming, everything becomes connected. That's why at Kumar, we use the power of technology to create value-adding services for sustainable success with our customers.
On meistä kiinni, miten kaupungit kehittyvät.
We are curious. We collaborate. And together, we create the best people flow experience.
Podemos hacer que nuestras ciudades sean lugares más inteligentes y más sostenibles en los que vivir. Haga suyo ese propósito y no estará solo.
More than 60,000 Kone professionals serving 500,000 customers. Over 4 billion people living in urban areas. One mission: to improve the flow of urban life.
हम मिलकर दुनिया में बदलाव ला सकते हैं। ये है हमारी कहानी।
This is our story.
这是您的故事。
Bienvenue sur Spin-Up Stations, l'application intelligente et internationale pour optimiser la performance climatique et financière de votre gare. Spin-Up vous permet d'évaluer de façon intégrée les performances sécuritaires, managériales, énergétiques et environnementales de votre gare. Prenez place et bienvenue à bord. Pour débuter votre auto-évaluation, cliquez sur le bouton plus en bas à gauche de l'écran qui permet d'ajouter une nouvelle gare. Entrez le nom de la gare concernée ainsi que son adresse. De quel type de gare s'agit-il? Une gare de bus? De métro? Disons qu'ici, il s'agit d'une gare de train. Une fois votre nouvelle gare introduite, vous pouvez déjà commencer à compléter votre évaluation. Démarrez en répondant au questionnaire général. Ces questions concernent et impactent l'ensemble de la gare. Désormais, il s'agit de reconstituer la gare élément par élément et niveau par niveau, aussi précisément que possible afin de bénéficier des résultats et recommandations les plus proches de vos performances réelles. À la clé, vous recevez le résultat des performances visualisées en spider charts par géographie, par élément de géographie et niveau d'intervention. Ces données vous permettent de calculer le coût de la défaillance et le budget nécessaire à la remédiation. Les recommandations générales qui vous permettent d'adapter la performance de la gare.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just waiting for the last little sort of tidying up bits to resolve the slight technical issue that we had this morning. And I'm just waiting for the thumbs up that we can carry on. And there it is. Thank you. Right. So, welcome back. And apologies for the delay. But sometimes these things come to get in our way, and I'm delighted to say it was a problem with an external provider beginning with Z, but we won't go down that road anymore. So there we are. Now we take it into our second panel of this morning with a focus on Asia, and specifically looking at freight issues and connecting the continents through intermodal logistical chains. And again, taking us through this little session now is Lucie Anderton and her panel of impressive looking speakers. Lucie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, well, as I said earlier, this is our second panel of our Asian focus. And this time we're going to be really focusing on freight corridors. I'm really thinking about how the importance of freight in connecting continents, so intercontinental, international, logistic chains, and how particularly we connect to other modes, so that intermodal element as well. So we have a very exciting panel here, a very broad panel, and I'll introduce them to you now. First, we're going to hear from Mr. Dong Hui, who is Deputy Director General for Freight Department in China State Railway Group Company Limited. Secondly, we're going to have Mr. Anton Kozlov, who is head of our Foreign Projects and International Cooperation Department in the Russian Railways. And he's speaking on behalf of Mr. Pavlovskiy, who unfortunately wasn't able to come to us today. We'll then have a video message from Mr. Miroslav Antonovich, who is chairman of OSJD. We'll then go to Dr. Ivan Petrov, who is president of FIATA. And finally, we'll go to Mr. Pranab Kumar Das, who is Director of Compliance and Facilitation at the World Customs Organization. So I'll go straight ahead to our first speaker. If we've got online Mr. Dong Hui. Are we connected? Welcome, you have the floor.
女士们、先生们，大家好，很高兴参加此次铁盟国际研讨会。现在我代表中国国家铁路集团有限公司，向各位嘉宾介绍中国铁路在推进中欧铁路通道和班列发展方面所做的工作。请翻页。我从以上3个方面做一个交流发言。 请翻页。第一是中欧铁路通道和班列发展情况。亚欧大陆拥有世界人口的75%，地区生产总值约占世界总额的60%。东面是活跃的东亚经济圈，西面是发达的欧洲经济圈，中间广大腹地经济发展潜力巨大，特别是一带一路沿线国家资源。
Thank you. And the inter part has a great potential of development to promote economic and trade exchanges between China and Europe and countries along the roads. China has strengthened cooperation with this country in terms of railway, customs, freight, forwarding, and etc. So, according to CR, more than 46,000 CRE trains have operated among 89 cities in China, with more than 4.18 million TEUs of goods delivered. More than 27,000 CRE trains have been operated among 74 cities in China and 79 cities in 11 Asian countries, with more than 2.04 million TEUs of goods delivered. The goods carried by CRE trains has gradually expanded from IT products to more than 50,000 categories, for example, chemicals, mechanical equipment, foods, and medical devices. Especially after COVID outbreak, CRE trains have carried 13.25 million pieces of anti-epidemic supplies. Please turn to page 4. Thank you. At present, CRE trains mainly run along 3 corridors and across Chinese border via 5 ports. Please turn to next page. Outside China, the north, middle, and south corridors have initially taken into shape. North corridors connect with the wide-gauge railway lines in Mongolia, Russia, and Belarus, and so on, and then reaches other European countries through railway lines in Poland. The corridors were supplemented by branch corridors such as Russian-Finland, Ukraine-Slovakia, Russian-German, and etc. The middle corridor connects with the Kazakhstan railway lines at Alato Pass and Horgos railway ports and converges with the north corridor in Russia. The south corridor connects with the wide-gauge railway lines in Kazakhstan, Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and reaches other European countries through railway lines in Iran, Turkey. Please turn to page 6. China-Europe railway corridors not only connect China with European countries along the route, but also connect East Asian countries, such as South Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asian countries, and road, rail, intermodal transport, etc. in the East. Please turn to page 7. Thank you. In the West, the corridors connect the UK, Nordic countries, Mediterranean countries, such as Greece, and the hinterland of the European continent through the sea rail intermodal transport via the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea. Please turn to page 8. Thank you. The second point I want to talk here is the main work carried out by CR. Since the launch of CRE train, CR has formed a systematic, complete, smooth, and efficient operation mode, providing cross-border whole-process logistic services for domestic and foreign customers. Please turn to page 9. First, freight source organization. By giving full play to the advantage of Euro-Asian railway network, We implement preferential freight rates, ensuring safety and punctuality. The second point is about transport organization. We have planned more than 70 dedicated railway routes for CRE trains based on the West Midland East corridors. And we also work together with railway in countries along the route to compile a joint TWD for CRE trains to make the train operated in a passenger train pattern for the whole trip. The third point is competitive freight rate. We have established a price coordination mechanism. And adhering to the concept of co-construction and mutual benefit, we jointly offer preferential prices to CRE trains, reduce their whole price logistic costs, and enhance their competitiveness. Fourth, customer services. CR has established a documentation center and developed a documentation production system to provide customers with services such as documentation preparation, custom transit for international through traffic transport. We have established a customer service center and established a railway and custom information exchange mechanism, which greatly reduced the custom clearance time. Fifth, coordination and cooperation. We established a cooperation mechanism of joint working group and carried out in-depth cooperation around the work of transportation organization, information collaboration, etc., to jointly promote the development of CRE trains. Please turn to page 10. And next, we will provide some suggestions. As a green, safe, and efficient new way of international logistics, CRE trains attracted wide attention and been welcomed by the international community. It has become an important choice of international logistics supply chain. The China-Europe railway corridors have been continually expanded. However, there are also problems such as insufficient port capacity, unbalanced freight traffic sources for go and return trips, poor information connectivity, etc. So we provide the following suggestions. Please turn to the next page. Thank you. First, improve railway port capacity. After COVID-19, a large number of freight traffic resources shifted to the corridor, and more customers choose and accept the logistic products of CRE trains. We suggest that the countries along the roads improve the port infrastructure and operating capacity of railway, and regulatory authorities expand the new ports to ensure smooth passage. Please turn to the next page. Thank you. Second, expand the sea-rail intermodal transport corridors. We suggest that relevant countries enhance the investment construction of sea-rail intermodal transport facilities and equipment at ports along the Baltic Sea, Caspian Sea, and Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea to improve the intermodal transport capacity. Third, attract eastbound freight sources. Present, the freight sources for bi-directional trips are still unbalanced. We suggest relevant countries enhance the publicity of China-Europe railway corridors and CRE trains to encourage enterprises to transport goods by using CRE trains and introduce relevant supporting policies to promote the growth of the freight trade on Europe-Asia corridors. Fourth, strengthen international cooperation with customs. We suggest that customs in countries along the routes promote information exchange and mutual assistance in law enforcement, expand the reference and mutual recognition of supervision results between customs, negotiate and sign customs cooperation agreements, and etc., and implement mutual recognition cooperation. Adhering to the objects of high standards, CR will firmly promote the high-quality development of CRE trains and cooperate more with parties in fields of transport organization and so on. We will promote the Euro-Asian railway connectivities to build smooth, convenient China-Europe railway corridors, connect more countries and regions through intermodal transport, and maintain security and stability of international industrial chain to make greater contribution to high-quality development of Belt and Road Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hui. That was really interesting. Thank you for sharing all about the China Railway Express. Really interesting to hear you talk about cooperation, particularly, and that multimodal cooperation and that intercontinental, international cooperation being so important. So thank you, and I'll move on now to our next speaker, who I believe is now ready online, Mr. Anton Kozlov. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I think so.
Great. Welcome. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, dear Mrs. Anderton, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for inviting me to take part in this symposium. Russian Railways are proud to be among the founders of this highly esteemed organization. We believe that UIC is a very important organization today, also when it comes to interaction in implementing the national transport strategies. Sustainability of transport and logistics chains, a low carbon footprint, and opportunities to improve operations through digitalization are the benefits offered by railways to business and societies. And those benefits are most visible when organizing transportation along international transport corridors. So there are many of them, and in the legal framework you can see up to 100 corridors together with their branches. But they can be divided into Trans-Eurasian and Trans-European corridors. But if we think in a large scale, those corridors become just two meta-corridors, east-west, from China to Europe, and north-south, say from Finland to India. The east-west corridor is developing most actively. In a few coming days, the millionth transit container will pass through the Russian Railways network, and it is highly likely it will carry the cargo going through from European Union to China, because this kind of transit between European Union and China is about 70% of all traffic. This figure, I mean 1 million containers, is impressive in absolute terms and in terms of the growth rates, which are in double digits, which have been in double digits since 2010. In 2020, container trains between China and Europe increased by almost 62% year to year. This success is due to the coordinated efforts of the railways that have joined the 7-party agreement on container trains on China-Europe route. These are the railways of China, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, Poland, and Germany. Rapid growth of international traffic through the ports of the Far East of Russia happens today as well. We have seen a more than threefold growth in the transit of containers from Japan to Europe this year. Main goods of the east-west corridor are electronics, household appliances, electrical components, consumer goods, and perishables. But there are many new goods, such as vegetable oil and flexi-tan containers, and many other types of food. As for the international north-south corridor, container volumes are quite modest. Railways of Finland, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Russia, and Iran work together with Container Corporation of India, CONCOR, and together they try to power up services on this corridor. And there are first good signs, like a container train loaded with paper, which successfully got from Finland to India via Iran by rail this year. And speaking generally, I think that it is clear that any major international transport corridor is an increasingly high-tech system that requires monitoring and improvement. The first thing that needs to be done is to develop the rail infrastructure. The government of the Russian Federation has adopted a plan to increase the carrying capacity of the Trans-Siberian and Baikal-Amur main lines from 144 million tons currently to 180 million tons by 2024. This will increase the volume of container traffic to 1.7 million containers. Of course, we should strive to develop transport corridors in line with the green financing instruments. ESG factors need to be taken into account when assessing the sustainability of investments for infrastructure projects. And digitalization initiatives also prove their worth. We are talking primarily about electronic customs declarations, invoices, and other documents here. In 2020, the first fully digital intermodal transportation using Intertran technology was introduced from port of Ningbo, Zhusan in China through port of Vladivostok in Russia to Kaladych station in Belarus. And today it has become a regular service. And it is very positive because doing almost nothing in terms of money, you can easily reduce the transit times by 4 days. It was incredible. Well, equally important is the legislative infrastructure, which is embodied in a stable system of rules, contracts, tariff agreements, and initiatives to harmonize and different transportation laws and systems. And I think today everyone here is aware of the cooperation which is taking place in this area. Returning to the role of the UIC, I think the most important task is to develop and maintain a common understanding of the goals and how to achieve them in the mentioned about aspects of the development of corridors. For example, UIC today shapes strategically important decisions of the future FRMCS communication standard, which will define the key operational interfaces on railways for next, say, 50 years. Many new technologies arise and they're very sophisticated, and you need some guidelines for them to be joined one to another and to make this system accessible and understandable and suitable for the client. And this kind of performance can be achieved only with the proper guidance, which can be in turn provided by UIC. What I say is about to develop a non-directive mechanism for coordinating of all elements of the infrastructure, backbone, border, and digital and legal procedures. The work in this area has already started in OSJD organization and UIC. But UIC, because of its scale, because of its tradition, and because of its practice of think tank activities, I think is very much welcome to do this work also. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope it was interesting, my speech, I mean. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really, really interesting to hear both about that north-south corridor as well as the east-west, and the importance of reducing the delivery time and sort of, I suppose, in a world where we want our deliveries quicker than ever, and the role that UIC can have and international cooperation in harmonising and bringing about a much better service. So thank you very much, very interesting. We're now going to move, I think, on to a pre-recorded video from our next speaker. Thank you.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, дорогие коллеги, в первую очередь позвольте поблагодарить организаторов данного симпозиума за приглашение к участию в столь важной инициативе по диалогу и развитию железнодорожных перевозок. Деятельность Организации сотрудничества железных дорог ОСЖД направлена на развитие железнодорожного транспорта на евразийском пространстве. Одним из аспектов нашей деятельности являются железнодорожные транспортные коридоры ОСЖД с целью обеспечения сбалансированного развития национальных участков данных коридоров, обеспечения максимальной гибкости тарифов и более широкое применение сквозных тарифных ставок при осуществлении комбинированных и мультимодальных перевозок грузов. Мы стремимся к формированию системы глобальных, трансконтинентальных и межконтинентальных железнодорожных магистралей, способных обеспечить стабильную сухопутную связь. Это позволит на переориентацию части транзитных грузопотоков с трансокеанских маршрутов на сухопутные железнодорожные маршруты. Влияние пандемии COVID-19 на деятельность компаний в цепочках поставок выявило необходимость разработки новых бизнес-стратегий. При проектировании будущих производственных сбытовых цепочек в дополнение к традиционным показателям, таким как стоимость, качество, сроки поставки, следует также принимать во внимание новые показатели, такие как устойчивость к внешним факторам, способность быстро реагировать и возможность быстрой реконфигурируемости параметров цепочек поставок. Уровень грузовых перевозок в прошлом году лучший пример того, что отрасль может быстро реагировать и меняться в зависимости от условий. Грузовые железнодорожные перевозки в период пандемии доказали свое существенное значение в странах ОСЖД и во всем мире. Объем перевозок в 2020 году приблизительно достиг уровня 2019 года. Страны ОСЖД успешно наращивают контейнерные грузопотоки в мультимодальном и смешанном сообщении, которому способствует наличие качественной логистической инфраструктуры и сервиса. В 2020 году в сообщении Китай-Европа-Китай проследовало 12 406 контейнерных поездов, что на 50% превышает уровень 2019 года, а дважды уровень 2018 года. При увеличиваемом уровне грузопотоков возникает необходимость еще более активного использования железнодорожной накладной ЦИМ СМГС. Она уже сейчас все больше и больше используется при осуществлении международных железнодорожных перевозок между Азией и Европой. Данный документ дает возможность без переоформления документов перевозить грузы, что существенно сокращает время для перевозки. Во время экономических трудностей многих стран, вызванных ограничительными мерами по предотвращению распространения COVID-19, особенно важно снижать себестоимость перевозок. Этому способствует дальнейшая контейнеризация железнодорожных перевозок. Эти аспекты позволяют также на предоставление улучшенного сервиса для клиентов, именно ввиду развития сервиса door-to-door. Дальнейшее развитие мультимодальных перевозок будет способствовать увеличению товарооборота между Европой и Азией в целом. Для того, чтобы полнейшим образом использовать наши практики и достижения в будущем, следует обратить внимание на тенденции и приоритеты транспорта на ближайшее время. Чистая энергия, цифровизация и автоматизация всех процессов – реальность и необходимость, которые в перспективе позволят снизить зависимость от ископаемых источников энергии, сократить выбросы парниковых газов в атмосферу. В основе планов Евросоюза по переходу к зеленой экономике лежит водородная энергетика, которая доказала свою значимость в железнодорожном транспорте. Прекрасным примером является поезд на водородном топливе, последняя разработка французской компании Alstom, курсирующая по всей Германии. В направлениях деятельности железных дорог должно присутствовать стремление к звеньям цепи поставок 4.0. Концепция логистики 4.0 выходит далеко за рамки одной компании и фокусируется на создании сети взаимосвязей в цепочках поставок. Тесное сотрудничество, управление потоками данных, интернет вещей и автоматизация процессов увеличивают добавленную стоимость и эффективно устраняют любые возникающие проблемы. Успех в этих областях позволит компаниям не только занять свои доли на рынке, но и способствовать общему развитию конкурентоспособности железнодорожного транспорта. Желаю всем участникам симпозиума плодотворной работы и смелых идей, а также импульса для дальнейшего международного сотрудничества. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you very much for that message from the chairman of OSJD. And now we're going to go straight to our next speaker. If we have Mr. Ivan Petrov on the line from the International Federation of Freight Forwarders. Mr. Petrov. Hello. Welcome. You have the floor.
Thank you so much for introducing us and inviting us so well to this very important forum, and also in connection with the important anniversary, 100 years of establishment of UIC, one of our main partners with us. So my presentation will be in the same line style with previous speakers. Actually, you can download it, yes, and it's speaking about multimodality as the future of the rail transport. It's in conjunction with the great corridors we heard about, and it improves cross-border interconnectivity with remaining reliable alternative routes to supply chain congestions. It addresses now the flow patterns and improve cost-efficient competitiveness of the freight industry and exploits potential of the automatization and digitalization. Multimodality on top are efficient way of movement of goods, and they care about sustainable development of transport systems, like less carbon emissions, improve cross-border connectivity. They're an important tool to improve logistics efficiency, but requires digitalization and interoperability of standards. At the next slide. What is FIATA doing on this? First, there is a need to support physical movement of goods with accessibility and acceptable and facilitated documentary processes from rail to road to consignee. Its importance of uniformity and consistency of documentary turnover to interpretation and usage. There is a key acceptance by financial institutions, insurers, carriers, regulatory agencies, and business standards, as was spoken also of the previous speakers. And what is the solution that FIATA proposes on this on the market? It's FIATA Multimodal Transport Bill of Lading, which is a reputable, trustworthy, only true multimodal negotiable trade document, known by the banking institutions and endorsed by ICC in Paris. The next slide, please. FIATA Digital Strategy, which is now done within for the last couple of years, has a concentration on issuing of electronic FIATA Bill of Lading in multimodal transport. It's issued by multimodal transport operator for the whole stretch of the transport and for all modes of transport. Liability of the contractual carrier is from end-to-end transport, which is very much needed for the market and can be used as a second layer of transport document by the multimodal transport operator once he, the contractual carrier, from other side has individual contracts of carrier in parallel to electronic FIATA Bill of Lading. Of course, this is building on the trust and security through digitalization process and allowing freight forwarders to issue FIATA Bill of Lading through their everyday tools, strengthening the compliance control over the issuer and preventing fraud, ensuring full traceability of the document, and ensuring interoperability with all modes of transport. And the next slide, please. It's a current stage and foreseen electronic FIATA Bill of Lading project. It's already started with a 7-month proof of concept involving 7 software providers and 19 freight forwarding companies. And its launch is planned for early 2022 with a progressive plan starting with direct FIATA members and national associations. It will continue to contribute to the work and undertaken by the United Nations on the Nation Institutes on negotiable transport documents. And of course, there is a possible extension of FIATA document solution also to non-FIATA documents like House Bill of Ladings. Thank you. It's my short presentation for the day as far as I was asked to keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really interesting to hear, again, that theme of multimodality, wasn't it? And the role of digitalization, particularly in documentation this time, isn't it? And how it can really improve both traceability as well as efficiency, which really links well to our next and last speaker, actually, Mr. Pranab Kumar Das, who is Director of Compliance and Facilitation at the World Customs Organization. Hello, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
You have the floor.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the World Customs Organization, I thank UIC for inviting us to this very important memorial symposium. I congratulate UIC on this on its coming centenary. This symposium is dedicated to the future of railways, modal, shift, desirable. I trust this will be an
Mr. Das, I don't know if you've accidentally pressed mute, we've lost sound.
Next slide, please.
Great.
Okay. Recently, rail transportation has grown exponentially with the increase in e-commerce, particularly in the Eurasian route. Rail can, previous slide, please. Rail can go through, rail can go through, previous slide, please. Sorry, it is just previous, please. It has gone ahead. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. A rail can go through many countries with transit operations, which requires cooperation among countries and private stakeholders. From customs perspective, it needs transit declaration throughout the entire supply chain and throughout the entire route. As the lead intergovernmental organization with 183 member customs administrations, WCO develops standard for customs procedures, providing capacity building for members, promoting international cooperation, and acts as the voice of international customs community. Considering the necessity of railway transportation in economic development and understanding the need for greater cooperation with railway sector organizations, other multi-modal operators, various stakeholders in the global supply chain, WCO signed MOUs with OTIF and OSJD. In 2017, WCO started discussion on customs railway cooperation, focusing on transit declarations and related important issues. In 2019, we launched WCO Railway Project, consisting of railway survey among members, field studies, WCO Railway Global Workshop, capacity building activities for our members, and development of WCO Railway Guidance, which is planned to be finalized in 2022. Next slide, please. WCO has several instruments and tools supporting international transit and transit declarations. For example, the revised Kyoto Convention RKC, the flagship customs convention, providing standard and recommended practices on trade facilitation. It has separate provisions contained in Annex, specific Annex E regarding customs transit and transshipment. The WCO has produced transit guidelines and transit handbook to provide clear guiding principles. We also published compendium of best practices in the area of transit to support our members. Next slide, please. Let me talk a little more detail about the railway WCO railway guidance. The guidance covers 6 areas of the railway transportation. First, WCO has underlined the need for applying the electronic procedures to simplify and harmonize all customs procedures and documentation using IT and cutting-edge technologies in order to facilitate and efficiently control goods crossing the borders. In that context, guidance proposes electronic customs transit procedures, including electronic transit declaration and use of pre-arrival advanced electronic data, and that the previous speakers have indicated how they have utilized. Second, the challenge for customs control in railway transportation is that railway facilities are often not well coordinated with the customs inspections using advanced technologies and detection equipments or surveillance systems. Considering this challenge, the guidance proposes customs exercise control in railway transportation by utilizing the use of risk management based on data, technologies, including NII equipments like rail scanners, and the use of electronic seals. Third, with the growing volumes of cross-border e-commerce and demand for ensuring reliable effective safe delivery of the international postal items, mostly small parcels in large volumes. Guidance proposes railway postal procedures to improve the interoperability of customs postal network in cooperation with Universal Postal Union, EPU, and railway companies. Fourth, railway carries both passengers and cargo, and the control of passengers' baggage is also an important role of customs for safety and security purposes. With that in mind, guidance proposes passenger controls through utilizing passenger-related data, in particular the PNR and connecting customs IT system and with the railway company IT systems. Fifth, the railway proposes cooperation with the private sector and other government agencies, for example, building cooperation mechanisms with railway operators and companies, applying the authorized economic operator concept, fostering mutual cooperation with other competent government agencies using the three pillars of safe framework of standard developed by WCO. Sixth, to increase efficiency of customs operations in railway transportation, guidance proposes customs to customs cooperation, for example, joint control with neighboring customs. This could include jointly established facilities, mutually recognized risk management systems, and a common scanners and through mutual recognition agreements. In guidance also, the entire thing is summarized as checklist, survey results, which shows members' experience and practices regarding railway transit procedures adopted throughout the world. Next slide, please. As we know, for fast and safe transit declarations in railway transportation, railway proposes to build harmonized railway transit dataset across all regions. This data harmonization concept is based on the recommendation of RKC contained in specific Annex E and WCO data model, which is now made free for all operators, including private sectors. And this is what I'm highlighting because we know that railway can succeed provided we have a common data set which is adapted in the entire ecosystem throughout the world. And it is crucial to have digitized customs procedures to save time, money, and administrative efforts. However, we find that there are broad differences in the data elements used in the different national data sets, different in data elements that are used in different levels, interoperable issues. So therefore, we need close cooperation and coordination of all stakeholders in the railway ecosystem to develop harmonized railway transit data set as early as possible. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Before finalizing my presentation, I would like to confirm that this guidance is a living document to be further developed to reflect the recent experiences and practices and to better resolve new challenges and dynamic situation that we face from time to time. At last, I take this opportunity to express my appreciation for close cooperation with the UIC. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. Really, really interesting hearing about the importance of guidance, of course, so that sort of global guidance to be accepted and get that buy-in, but also that huge burden of administration that sits with freight and the importance of relieving that. So thank you very much for highlighting those challenges. We're now going to go to a short panel questions. And I'll go back to our first speaker if Mr. Donghui is online to answer a question. Hello, welcome back. Hi. We heard all about the China Railway Express, which clearly is doing great. It's increasing quite rapidly in terms of the amount of big players, big clients that are using the railways now for freight. Do you see the sort of, in the future, in the next 10 years, these volumes continuing to increase? Will you maintain the sort of high level of growth in the China Railway Express?
感谢你的提问。这个问题啊，也是我们中国铁路非常关心的。新冠疫情发生以来啊，在海运、空运价格大幅上涨的情况下，中欧班列啊，在运价、运能和运输时效等方面基本保持了稳定，应该说是为国际疫情防控、贸易链、供应链安全稳定啊，做出了积极贡献。这是中欧班列沿线各国铁路啊、海关等政府监管部门共同努力的结果，也是我们稳定客户、扩大铁路运输市场的一个必然要求。据我们了解啊，很多客户啊已表示，即使疫情结束，也将把中欧班列作为其国际物流供应链的重要选择。因此啊，我对中欧班列在后疫情时期啊继续保持竞争力啊，我们还是持乐观态度的。谢谢主持人。
To hear, thank you. And now, if we could bring Mr. Pavlovskiy back, Mr. Antonov back on to answer a quick question from Russian Railways' point of view.
Yes, please.
Hello, welcome back. Yeah, I wanted to hear a little bit more about the sustainability plan for Russian Railways, particularly for freight. At the moment, we're still using some diesel to move our trains, but we know this needs to change. Can you tell us a bit more about your plans to reduce the carbon footprint of freight in Russia?
Thank you. The starting position of Russian Railways is good because actually now we operate about 85% of our line, which is electrified. So only 15% of cargo and those lines, is the length of our system is very well corresponding to the freight turnover. So it means that just only 15% of cargo is moved using diesel. So our starting position is good, and nowadays we're testing hydrogen as a future fuel of the future. And the first results are positive, but it is a long road because, as you know, the life cycle of any locomotive is about 20 or even 30, 35 years. But we know that carbon footprint is not limited on any company as itself, and it is also a question of where it takes the electricity it consumes. So, of course, we take our electricity from Russian grid, and it is powered 40%, as I remember, with gas and 40% with a mix of nuclear and hydropower, and only 20% is dirty coal. So I think in these relations, we are largely dependent on energy politics of Russian Federation. And of course, we know that very soon we will be asked where we get our electricity from. And we try to figure out our answers and working with our government in this field. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's really interesting. Certainly, electrification seems to be the most effective way for decarbonising, but hydrogen certainly is being talked about by many of our speakers today about a really good alternative we need to investigate. Thank you. And now we'll just ask a question for our last speaker, Mr. Kumar Das, if you're still online. I wonder if we could expand a bit more on, from the customs perspective, what's the most important thing really to consider for railway transportation? What are the big challenges, particularly perhaps for digitalisation in the customs procedures? If you could unmute yourself.
Sorry, this is a very important question. I think the railway sector is expanding exponentially, and then gradually we are looking at multimodal transport. So therefore, the most important area is the trust-based close cooperation and coordination with all the stakeholders and the entire supply chain. So therefore, the WTO feels that we need global standards for seamless and safe customs procedure for border crossings and transit based on national experience and practices. So as we know that railway goes through different countries, so we can't avoid a particular country. Therefore, the standardized custom procedure for rail can only increase the efficiency. So the most important, as we say, is development of a global transit data set, and that requires the close cooperation from all the stakeholders. So therefore, I mean, unfortunately, this has not had attracted much attention until recent years compared to the air and sea modes, particularly the rail, and with the booming e-commerce, we are now facing a situation where we have to facilitate the illicit cargo and control the non-compliant cargo as early as possible. So therefore, we have to develop trust-based risk management system, joint inspection system, joint control mechanisms, and equipments like NII equipment, like scanners and all. And the scanner-based images can move from one country to another country. The development of customs to customs cooperation and customs to the other partners within the country, and customs to the other customs organizations across the border. So therefore, it's very important that we have to have a railway to establish that kind of standard for achieving the best practices. And since we are moving to more data-based culture, so therefore the data standard has to be very robust and very uniform. So therefore, it is very important. Again, as I say, a global data standard, the cooperation among all the organizers, all the operators, all the stakeholders in the supply chain, and the trust-based exchange of information on a real-time basis among all the stakeholders is the key to the success.
Thank you. Yeah, certainly there's a real theme of cooperation coming through in all the speakers this morning, isn't there? Around there's so many different moving parts to get goods from along such long distances. So thank you for raising that. And we've got one more question then for Dr. Petrov, if he's still available online. Dr. Petrov, we heard earlier today from the Asian Development Bank that actually rail freight in the region is stalling a little bit in terms of volumes. Do you think there's real sort of a potential for significant growth to modal share, a greater modal share for freight, rail freight particular, in the region? What really needs to sort of change to get that modal share in the region?
Thank you for asking this question, Lucie. And I may say that at this stage, it sounds more or less like a political statement than a real strategy towards a modal shift on a bigger share. And why is it like this? Because probably even if we speak about regional, now Europe, it's not only possible to have Central European countries involved in rail operations. Well, there is lack of these operations. And you know that rail transport is more efficient to longer distances instead of short distances. And why is it so? First of all, it's lack or very bad shape of infrastructure, even on the core and comprehensive rail network in Europe. And the border crossing procedures are so clumsy, so time-consuming, and create congestions. And the countries in Europe are considerably very small. And so you need a lot of borders, and all these congestions create a longer transit time. Due to that, we in Southeast Europe, where I'm coming from, actually from Bulgaria, and not only, but also Greece, Turkey, and other countries in Western Balkan, we lose volumes by rail. The operator closed operations due to the fact that the empty wagons or the wagons returned from this area so long
period, 30, 40 days. So nobody can afford this. So I don't see at this stage, without uniting Europe, and not only neighboring country afterwards, and Euro-Asian corridors, which are so important. Also those to south are important. So without this, all systems to work, it's a bit not so easy to reach at the stage of 2030 as you preliminarily asked for. However, the key for solution that I think majority of the speakers, the previous one definitely, also are speaking about multimodality. This is the key to increase rail share as well, because the rail is the backbone of this multimodality. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Petrov. A great way to end this panel. Very clear there's a lot of work still to do. So thank you very much. Thank you to the whole panel.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lucie, as well. Thank you very much indeed for conducting us through all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is, I can formally announce lunchtime here in Paris. For those of you who are online, enjoy another little break. We will reconvene, if we can, at 1 o'clock here, local time, please, so that we can try and keep on time towards the end of the event. So that's in 45 minutes time from now. That's 1 o'clock Paris time. Enjoy whatever you will do during your break. Thank you very much.